Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Military Adaptive Sports Program's Cooking Clinic. This is day 3 here with Chef Michelle, and she is showing off her wonderful Hawaiian flair today. As you can see, she's got her cool outfit showing the colors, ending the week with some flair. We're excited to get into our recipe for today, which is going to be super fun. I hope all of you had a good time making those meat pies or those meat lollipops.
Pie.
I was trying to make meat pies yesterday. I was making the wrong recipe. That's okay. But we had a lot of fun with Michaela, the junior chef, stealing the show, of course. So once again, I'm Patrick Johnson, and I'm the site coordinator for Military Adaptive Sports Program here, and I am here at Walter Reed, one of our 3 sites. Chef Michelle is in Richmond filming via satellite. We are going to jump right in with about a 30 to 40 minute demonstration of yet another recipe. Remember that we encourage you to have fun cooking with your family, cooking with your friends, showing those choices that she's going to show you on how to use different variations for the recipe. Make it a social activity, make it fun, and let's just keep encouraging ourselves to create community and communication. So I'm going to turn it over to Chef Michelle, and let's have some good cooking today.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today we will be making Zuppa Toscana. I'm not pronouncing that correctly. This soup, I did provide a recipe for you to do it either vegan or you can do it regular. I will be doing it the regular way, but the ingredients is still going to be the same for your vegan steps. So if I'm doing the regular bacon, you'll use your vegan bacon at that time, or you'll use your everything sausage instead of the regular sausage. So let's get started. I'm going to show you what we have today, our ingredients. And I like to tell you, if I can cook, you can cook it too. So if you've ever been to Olive Garden, this is one of the soups that they offer, and it's really tasty. I like my homemade version better. But we have some sliced potatoes here. You have your minced garlic. You have some black pepper, salt, red chili flakes. You have onions, bacon, ground Italian sausage, and your kale. And we also have chicken stock and some heavy whipping cream. All right, so to get started, we're going to start with our Italian sausage. I did start heating my pan. You want to make sure your pan is nice and hot. Go ahead and add that in. And if you've watched me in any of the other clinics, you do know that you are going to see this spatula while I'm cooking the meat, but once the meat is finished, it will not be in this skillet again because you don't want to cross-contaminate.
So, right. Chef Michelle, are you saying that we should use one spatula for cooking and then one once the meat is cooked? So we want to have 2 spatulas?
Right. You don't want to use the same spatula that has the raw meat. So like if you see on here, it has the raw meat on here. If you're not paying attention and once it's cooked, you'll take that same spatula and put it in there with the cooked meat. There's a potential of getting that raw meat, and that's cross-contamination. You don't want to do that.
Thank you. Great tip.
You're welcome. So, I mean, for me, I use different color spatulas. Today I have gray, but the lighter gray is the raw, and then I have a darker gray that's going to show me that's for the cooked meat once it's finished. So I'm going to let that go ahead and start browning. And what I'm doing is I'm taking my spatula and I'm kind of breaking it up so that they're not big chunks of meat. And for this Italian sausage, I used 1 pound of Italian sausage. And you can use, if you're using your vegan, at this point, you would be using your Beyond Meat sausage or whatever brand you prefer.
So what other proteins could you use? Like, have you tried this recipe?
Good question, because I've been getting asked those different things throughout the week. Today, I decided I was going to add a twist. And so I do have a mystery ingredient that's going to be added today, and it's shrimp. I'm going to add some shrimp to this. Now you don't have to add shrimp, but you can do shrimp in place of the Italian sausage. But I'm going to go ahead and add some seasoned shrimp to the mix when the time comes. But I'm glad you asked, Patrick, because I was going to bring that out. So I did have some seasoned shrimp that I was going to add.
Ooh, awesome.
As a mystery ingredient, because I still have to be prepared. I've been getting those questions all week, so I said I'm going to be prepared. So now would be the time, even though the sausage looks like it's still not all the way done, it's more done than not. So now I'm going to use my other spatula just to kind of finish it up. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out. I'm going to set this to the side.
So I'm a little jealous that today I'm back here in DC and she's there in Richmond, so I'm not going to get to taste this. So maybe I'll try cooking it tomorrow.
Yeah. And today is a good day for it because it's nice and it's rainy today and it's kind of cold from the little storm that is blowing through. So today was a good day for soup. I'm going to go ahead and take this out. I like to hear that you're practicing. So did you try the meat pies? Did you try to make yourself some meat pies last night, Patrick?
No, I didn't. But we're gonna on Saturday night and make it a little social activity with trying to do some meat pies with myself and a couple of the Marines here.
Okay, cool. I would love to see how that turns out.
I'm not guaranteeing they're going to look pretty because, we're those guys. We would slap it on there.
Hey.
Good.
Let's finish taking that out. All right. So to that same fat, we're going to add this bacon grease. Lord Jesus. See, y'all asked about bacon grease. Now, I am going to use the same spatula I use in the sausage because it's still raw meat, right? So that's not considered cross-contamination. All right. One thing is if you want to make your bacon ahead of time, you can make your bacon ahead of time. If you want to make your sausage ahead of time, you can do that. Where you can just add it to your soup base once you get to that point. I apologize. Tongue-tied here. So we do want this bacon to get nice and crispy.
So what kind of bacon is that? It doesn't look like the bacon that I made.
This is thick cut, regular pork bacon, hickory smoke. It's Walmart brand.
So you just cut it in little small pieces?
Yes, cut it so that we can have baked bite-sized. And at this point, you would be using your vegan bacon. So if you're cooking with vegan bacon, this would be your step to use your vegan bacon, okay?
Okay. So I'm learning because normally like I would cook the bacon and then try to cut it up afterwards and it crumbles into small pieces. So this is probably going to be better for keeping it to maintain those little sizes.
Well, you want the fat. You can do that because normally I cook my bacon in the oven, but when you cook it in the oven, it does take a little bit more time. And so for the sake of time, I figured I would just saute it on the top of the stove and go from there. But this bacon today looks like it has a lot of fat on here.
Yummy.
He said yummy. So for the guy that was on, what was it, on Tuesday, that was asking about that bacon fat, this would be right up his alley.
Yes, I will pass it on.
I'm gonna go ahead and add my onions in the pan. I'm gonna do like I do when I'm cooking for myself. That. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add the onions in. Let those begin to cook. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and add in the garlic. Right. I'm also gonna add in the potatoes.
So Chef Michelle, you added so there's onions and bacon, and you added the potatoes. And what was that you added right before the potatoes? The garlic. Oh my God, it must smell amazing in there.
It does. Now, I'm just cooking the potatoes in here just a little bit. It doesn't really need to be cooked because what I'm gonna do, or what happens is you're gonna add it to the soup, and it's going to cook down from the moisture. I'm just trying to add some extra flavor to that.
So Michelle, I noticed that the potatoes that you added look like perfectly thinly sliced. How did you do that? And like, can you slice potatoes different ways? Like I know for me, I probably won't be able to accomplish that. Did you do that by hand, or how did you accomplish those perfectly small potato slices?
So actually, I did not cut the potato by hand. I do have a kitchen gadget that I use to slice potatoes. You can cut it by hand. Give me a moment and I'll get it for you guys so you can see it. So I'm going to show you a demonstration of how to do it. I'm going to have my camera guy come over here and I'll show you how I slice my potatoes. Okay. So this right here is what you call a mandolin. Let me turn it this way. Okay, I do not suggest you cut your potatoes like this if you have a mandolin because it's very sharp. But I just take and I slice. And if you see at the bottom, it slices your potatoes perfectly. See that there? And that's how I sliced my potatoes. Now the mandolin does come with a guard. If you're not familiar with using a mandolin, I suggest that you use the guard for your mandolin. And what you do is you put the potato, it has a little prickly parts at the bottom. You put your potato in there and you add it on and you slice.
Okay.
But I do it by hand because of that very reason. Oh, Jesus. I like it better without it. But that's what you do. You can use this for tomatoes, whatever you're slicing. With a mandolin, you do have different degrees of thickness that you can get it at. So, yeah, you can, if you're good at slicing, you can slice it with a knife if you prefer. I just don't prefer to do it that way. All right, so now we're back. We're using our dark gray spatula because we don't have anything in here raw. And you see the potatoes are starting to get they're changing colors. They're getting a little see-through, translucent. That's what I want. But for now, that's good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and switch pans now. Bring this pan over. And what I'm going to do to that, I'm going to add 6 cups of chicken stock. If you do not have a big measuring cup like that, that's okay. Just measure out 6 cups. Or usually if you just get 1 box, what was the ounce on that? 48 ounces of chicken stock in 1 box. That's all you need. Then I'm going to do a cup and a half of heavy whipping cream. Okay. And to this, I'm going to add my potatoes, my sausage, and bacon, okay? We'll start with my sausage. Oh. And you want to let this come to a boil. Don't worry about the oil that you see, because I'm going to show you that later on before your soup is finished, you're going to take and skim that oil off, just like that. You skim the fat off the top, okay? But for now, we're going to let it be in there so it can help cook, get the flavor. All right. So we're going to add I'm going to add our secret ingredients in at the end. And you notice I didn't put the grease of the bacon in there. You don't want to do that. It's going to make it too oily. So we're going to let that sit there. We're going to let that come to a boil. I'm going to go ahead and add in my teaspoon of salt, which is, I'm just take a pinch, but you can add in a teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of pepper, a little bit more, or to taste. You can do it to taste. Okay.
And for me, a lot of times I'm really confused at what level to put the flame. Like, do you have that on low or medium, or like, how do you know?
So if you look at my flame is on medium high because I want this to come to a boil. You want this mixture right now to come to a boil. And then once it comes to a boil, we're going to bring it down to a simmer. Okay. But you want it to get to that boil point. Don't worry that your soup looks orange. It's not going to stay orange, I promise you.
And the other thing I'm always kind of questioning myself on, I'm talking like I ever cook, but is like, would you cover that or leave it uncovered while it's cooking? And
so you would leave it, when you simmer, you can put a lid on it. Right now, you want it to boil. So once it gets to that boil point, you do want to turn it down. You have to be careful not to make your milk, your heavy whipping cream curdle. You don't want it to curdle, but you do want to bring it to a boil. Okay. So at this point, depending on your stove, you would increase your flame to high to get it to that boil point, and then again, you reduce it down to simmer. Some stoves have where it says simmer or boil. So wherever your stove marks are, that's where you should put it. Did that answer your question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
I kept talking. I'm just giving this a stir. I just want to make sure that like my potatoes are all not clumped together. They're just kind of loose so they can all kind of cook evenly. Because we didn't do a full cook, we just kind of wanted to add a little flavor to them. At this point, it is safe for you to taste. There's nothing in there that's raw. So at this point, you can taste the base of your soup to see if it has the flavor that you like. And you can add more salt or pepper at this point if you want. For me, it's okay. It is going to have a rich, creamy flavor.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure when you taste it, though, that you're not just tasting the orange, which that's fat. That's all the fat. See that? And then when you see the white, that's all the goodness of the soup. All right, so just give that, I'm going to turn it up just a little bit more so you can get to that boil point. Patrick, I see you. You look like you're salivating over this soup.
I am. I'm seriously was just thinking I'm going to be really hungry after this, so I may have to eat a second lunch.
Uh-oh. As soon as this gets to a boil, I will then add my kale to it. and I'm going to skim my fat off the top, okay? No, I'm going to add the red pepper flakes and the shrimp at the end. Again, the shrimp will cook, but adding them in at the end, it's already going to be hot. It's going to be hot enough that it's going to cook our shrimp. It's not going to be raw. What happened, Beth? Yeah, shrimp does not take a long time to cook. My helpers are talking to me. I apologize. They're trying to make sure I cover all aspects. I'm going to go ahead and add in my other potatoes I cut so they don't go to waste. If you notice, these potatoes are really thin. They're not a real thick cut of potato, which is good. So it's not going to take long for them to cook either. Let's go ahead and add them in. Can't have too much.
No, I love potatoes.
This right here is, I promise you, the smallest batch of this soup I've ever made in my life. Today is the smallest because I just wanted to do a small scale for the clinic.
So that's a good point. So if you were cooking like 5 times that amount, would you do it in one big cooking pot, or would you cook it separately?
Yeah, I'll show you. He's gonna stay on the soup, but I'll show you the pot that I normally use.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. Don't laugh. It's a church pot.
There you go. Big family pot.
This is the pot that I would. This is the pot that I would normally use.
Okay.
See how big that is? It's a really big pot. So see that? It's real deep, and that's what I would use. This is 2 quarts. 20 quart. Sorry, 20 quart pots. And I tell you what, it doesn't last long either.
I was gonna say, I bet you that pot there would cause some wars if, I would probably eat half of that, but then hide a cup for myself.
Yeah. When people find out I'm making this soup, I get people requesting, can I get a bowl? I mean, It goes really fast. Huh? My husband said they can go to Olive Garden and get it, but it doesn't taste the same as Olive Garden. So you know how sometimes you make it, and I'm like, okay, well, let me taste this. I want to see how it tastes when I go back to Olive Garden. And I'm like, I don't like that. I like it better the way that I made it. Because when you go to restaurants and different things, they can't add certain seasonings and stuff because dietary restrictions. And so I find when you make it at home, you can add your little piece of love in there.
Mm-hmm. And that's a really good.
Cook it with passion.
Yeah. So you can really knowing your family or knowing your roommates or whoever, make adjustments based. So like with this, you could actually do that with 2 pots and maybe have one version that doesn't have shrimp in it, one version that does.
Right. Now the normal soup doesn't have shrimp, so this is going to be a treat. I just wanted to try something different. Because y'all, this week I've been asked questions about what else could you do? Can you do this? Could you do that?
Yeah.
So I said, well, why not try it? We're going to try something different today. We're going to throw in a little surprise guest to the mix. Now, I did say on the menu instruction sheets, you can use broccoli, you can use spinach. So there are other variations that you can use. Some people don't like kale. I can say when I cook my kale is a little bit more cooked than it is when you get it at Olive Garden. It's not as cooked, I should say. It's not as wilted. It kind of have a little kind of crunch to it, but not too much, which is good because soup over time, you heat it up. You might eat it today and then you heat it up. So you don't want it to be already soggy. All right, so now if you look at that pot, you see that it is boiling. It is having a boil fest.
Yes.
So while it's boiling, I'm going to go ahead and try to skim this fat off the top because it's all right here. I'm going to go ahead and skim it. And I'm going to turn this down to simmer. I'm going to add my kale. So when you skim, you just want to take it around the edge because if you notice the fat rises to the top, right? See how the fat is rising to the top? So you want to get all the fat. Try not to get your ingredients, just the fat. Normally, I would not use this big of a spoon, but for the sake of safety, because it's hot, I'm going to use this and not the metal spoon, just to show. But you see how it's getting the fat off the top? It's skimming the fat. That's what you want to get off. And that's how you're going to make your soup be white again. And that's why it's called skimming, because you're just taking it from the top. And that helps it not to have that greasy taste. You ever eat some food where it tastes greasy? Oily? You don't want that.
I'm guessing like the TLC to do these steps is probably what makes the difference in, you know, what you will get at a restaurant, not naming any restaurants' names, versus what we'll get, you know, as doing it at home. And I was, you know, thinking that probably like when you talk about adding different vegetables or adding different things like having kale, if you're going to cook this at home, you know you're going to cook it on a certain day, so you're not going to go and buy that kale until right like maybe that day or the day before, so it's fresh.
Right.
And those and a lot of the ingredients that you're using are so much better when they're fresh. So I think that's the difference in what you're cooking there and what we're going to get in a restaurant situation, which can't be as fresh in most cases.
Now, say you don't have any fresh kale, but you have it frozen. You can still use your frozen vegetables. I would just say make sure it's thawed out. Make sure you squeeze out all the moisture and you can add it. Of course, you won't get that crispiness of the fresh kale, but this is one of those things you can use what you have. It's not, you know, some places you might have not had good fresh kale on the shelf. All of it looked bad. You can certainly use what you have. All right, so this is going to be good for now. But if you notice, as this continues to cook, the fat is going to still continue to rise. It's not going to stay within the soup. So you may have to come back again and skim it.
Okay.
Which is okay. But this is a hearty soup. And so you have more of the meat and potatoes, and that's what you want, as well as the kale. So I'm going to go ahead and add the kale in. And make sure you wash, if you have fresh kale, make sure you wash your kale. This is curly kale, and what I did was I just got it and just cut it. And that's it. I just sliced it, chopped it up. You can use, now, they have different kind of kale. Let me warn you, if you don't use curly kale, they do have some other kale, and it's very bitter. I don't know what it's called. I did that by mistake one time. Wasn't paying attention. But if you look at the kale tag, it tells you if it's bitter or not. You don't want the bitter kale unless you like that taste. Me, frankly, I do not. But do you see how that soup is coming together?
Yes, that really adds, yeah.
So I'm going to continue to let that cook. And because I don't let the kale cook until it's like really, really soft, I'm going to add the shrimp in now and the pepper flakes because it's going to still allow the kale to cook and still have the texture that I want. Again, you can cook this to whatever your desired doneness is. And you'll see it's not going to take long for these shrimp to cook. They're going to start turning pink because it's hot. I'm going to stop there for now. Give this a good mix. See how this shrimp is already turning pink? See here. See it's turning pink. Oh.
So the shrimp will just cook in there.
Yep. All right. I'll go ahead and add in my pepper flakes. And this, you don't need a lot. This is not like a spicy soup unless you like spice. You just need a little bit. The heat from the cooking will intensify the more pepper flakes you put in.
Yummy. I like the secret ingredient.
And that's basically it. That's our soup. I would let this simmer for probably another 5 minutes. But to be honest, you're done.
Yummy.
You're just trying to make sure that the shrimp is cooked all the way through. But look at that. It's nice.
It looks hearty and definitely perfect for a overcast, rainy day, which when we filmed this, everyone out there, it was kind of overcast and rainy and dreary. So Chef Michelle's giving us some good comfort food.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that is basically our dish for the day. And, you can top that with Parmesan cheese if you like. Some people like to squeeze a little bit of lemon in there, lemon juice. It's really your preference. But this is it. And like I said,
great.
I like to say, if I can cook it, you can cook it too.
Awesome. Well, Chef, I totally believe that maybe I can make soup, and I will let you know how I do. After doing this, I was as you were preparing that, I thought, hey, I can make this without the shrimp, and then maybe add it in later for somebody who wants it. And if there's somebody who's like, hey, I want chicken in it or sausage, maybe add that. But I love seeing the varieties and the opportunities to cook together as a team, cook together as a family, cook together as roommates, or cook alone, and making changes and making choices. So once again, thank you so much for the wonderful workshop. Day 3 here, cooking this great comfort food soup. And on behalf of the Military Adaptive Sports Program and Warrior Care, we are happy to have 3 great days of cooking here. You can find all these ingredients, the ingredients list, as well as the recipes, and follow along on the Warrior Care website. So I'm Patrick Johnson from the Military Adaptive Sports Program here at Walter Reed, and I want to thank everyone for joining us for our cooking clinic, day 3. Have a great one. Bye-bye.